Welcome to RC Racing TV. It's day 4 here in Pinerolo, Italy. It's the start of the four-wheel drive championships. We've got loads to come in today's show, but first... I've been here 4 days now, and as we enter the second half of the week, I can't help but think it's the same drivers, the same track, and almost the same car. So it gets me thinking, do we really need two different classes? I don't think we do. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go round the pits, ask everyone, do you prefer two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive? Whichever they choose, we'll get rid of the other.
Four-wheel drive, because it's awesome.
Two-wheel drive, maybe it's more, you can drive better.
Two-wheel drive, harder to drive.
Four-wheel drive, you can punch more.
For now, I think two-wheel. Four wasn't that good yet, so we're finding that.
Four-wheel drive, you can get the power down.
Four-wheel drive, more fun.
I would like on-road.
Four-wheel drive. The car is much more fun to drive.
Two-wheel drive, much better, much easier.
Two-wheel drive, it's just easy. Well, I prefer.
Four-wheel drive, more grip.
Two-wheel drive, same as him.
Four-wheel drive, it's easy, more grip.
Two-wheel drive, requires more precision, more skill.
Four-wheel drive, it's much more fun.
Four-wheel drive, because it's more aggressive.
Four-wheel drive. It's four-wheel drive and
On dirt, four-wheel drive. It's just a lot more fun.
Four-wheel drive. It's more fun. You can slide it around. Bigger whips.
I think two-wheel drive. I drink the longer time for four-wheel drive.
Two-wheel drive, because I like this class better in 10 scale.
Four-wheel drive, it's just better.
I'm always a two-wheel drive man, to be honest. Four-wheel drive's a bit fast and furious for me, but...
Four-wheel drive? Why? I don't know.
Four-wheel drive. Because I had a disaster for the first few days, so it's four-wheel drive or nothing now.
Oh, four-wheel drive all day. I think the Ben just finds it easier to do.
Two-wheel drive, it's harder.
That's it then, sorted. We'll get rid of two-wheel drive, stick with the four-wheel drive, easy. I'll go and speak to Carlos, I'll get this all sorted out. Bear with me.
Well, because there are different cars, and the driving skills of a two-wheel drive car are way different than a four-wheel drive car. You see how easy these four-wheel drive cars fly and everything like that. If you need driving skills, drive a two-wheel drive car, and you will find out that it is not that easy. So super driving skills is two-wheel drive, super high, super long is four-wheel drive.
Great, so it looks like we're going to be keeping both classes after all. Great. Anyway, early this week, DC went and spoke to Schumacher's very own Tristan Neal to find out the roots of both two-wheel and four-wheel drive and the developments over the last few years.
So when I first started racing, we were on rear motor cars, and it was traditionally that from kind of 30 years ago, from the RC10 kind of era. That's all everyone saw. And a number of years went by. I started racing in 2006, 2007, and I think about that time I'd seen on the Opel channel a picture of Ellis Stafford's converted Triple X from Losi at the time, which was kind of like, well, that's cool, but other people like that would never work. There was a lot of that, and then X Factory brought out their X6, which again, that would never work, and it did in the UK, especially on the AstroTurf tracks. Ellis Stafford dominated the national series with it. It was standout. And then Atomic Carbon did a version of what Ellis had done before and made a kind of a semi-production car where you did a conversion. And then Schumacher released, I believe, the first production mid-motor car. And then I don't know all the timeline, I've been splits out, but then CML with the help of Chris Yardy and Jonathan Clark again, they released the Centro, which again, that was the next step on. So, and then we started seeing more and more production, mid-motor cars coming out, and that was purely a swap from you'd say that the diff is where this hand is. The motor was like 35mm, and then flipped to the other side. Purely that, and it's brilliant, batteries in front, and it made the cars easier to drive, more agile, and used more of the tyre, because before we had like a 67% weight split over the rear tyres, and now we went to kind of the 64-63 mark. So then you're utilising more of the tyre, because there's the talk of the tyres wearing out quicker nowadays. Well, yeah, they are. And as the years have gone by, we've moved the motor further and further forwards. I think Losi are the first ones to move it forwards again. That's never going to work, comments, you know, that'd be terrible. Dan Bloomfield, I remember watching that in the UK on carpet, looked awesome with it. And even now, that position is a little bit further back from where we are now, and we're just going to eke out the performance where we are. We'll see cars this weekend, they've moved the motor back a little bit, or they've moved it forwards, just to get the balance right. So basically the motor, it's a spinning unit, or the bit inside it's spinning up to like 46,000 RPM, whatever you can achieve. That's either going to hinder or help the steering, traction, whatever. So it's interesting. I think one of our one of our Schumacher buggies, we had the motor right in the middle, like our L1 is, and that's very good for carrying corner speed. So it was quite an interesting subject to ask about, and it's something we're always playing with. And actually, the two-wheel drive buggies been one of the cars to really come on over, I think, most other classes on the market on its development over the years. Four-wheel drive's been very much the same, apart from some technologies coming in. And you look at touring car, they've done some stuff recently. They've gone to mid-motor. A number of companies did that a couple of years ago. We've done that with like an old Axis and MI5 Evo. We had a centre position. Didn't quite work back then, but now Automatrix made it work really well. So it's really interesting to see. So yeah, it's a fun class to be working on. Well, to be honest, four-wheel drive is, from what I've seen, been a bit slower. Like the Losi XX4 for about 13 to 15 years was strong. It was held back by some of the technology of like gear diffs and stuff like that. In the end, the belts weren't quite holding up to it in the end, and it's a little bit harder to work on. It was a ridiculous amount of screws just to change a belt. You went there and I did. So that was quite fun, or not. And then we never really had Hitachi drivers back then, you know, the power drivers to get it all apart quickly. It was quick, you know, hand maintenance. So one thing that I noticed, the biggest thing was Drango came along with their 410. And Jorn came and dominated the carpet series. He was absolutely fantastic on that. You kind of hated it when he turned up at meeting, because he was generally going to win at the time. That was on the Primer felt. And then the B-Max 4 came along. It's a slightly different platform, as well as you had the a clear one actually, the BJ4 that came along. Yes, that was based on a mixture of the TC3, and then Jason Rona then made a proper car, and that went very, very well. Shaft drive, you had the XX4s, and XX4 was very good on the bumps, and the BJ4, I can't remember all its attributes, but it had its places very, very good on the clay. And then Associated released the B44. There was the B-Max, which is more of what the platforms look like. So you got the B-Max and the B44, and you look at four drives nowadays, and they all look very much the same, because X-Ray have done their one, and there's very similar looks on the other cars, and various geometries are different, and they're the things that are making the difference. But one of the other big things that I haven't talked about, like with two-wheel drive, is the gear diff. We're always on ball diffs. The fun of a ball diff, it's always easy to work on. Not. And I always have people come up to me, can you do this? And all right, I'll help them. Gear diff's very simple. You've got 6 gears inside, or 4, depending on your choice. If you have an oil, as long as you screw it up tightly and the seals are good, you'll have a great day. For low grip, we need to be on a ball diff. But yeah, so I think the gear diffs been a big thing, but for four-wheel drive they've introduced centre diffs like on 8 scale, which allows obviously distribution of power even more. And but no, four-wheel drive hasn't been as big on what's changed, but some people got it really right. In X-Ray were very dominant going back about 2-3 years. They're very strong in that area. They did some really good development on their platform, which started out very similar to like the B-Max 4 and didn't start out at the front, but they've been very good to do small evolutionary changes to get where they are now.
Another great informative interview there. Thank you for that, DC. Now, word in the pits is there's a driver here that's done 3 back-to-back championships this summer. You went and spoke to him earlier, didn't you?
I did indeed. There is a young driver. He is 16 years old. He started racing when he was 6 years of age. He is from Finland, and his name is Pekko Ivanen. Where are you from, Pekko?
Finland.
And how old are you?
16 right now, yeah.
And you're saying that this is your first 10th scale off-road European Championships ever?
Yeah.
And how long have you been racing?
Like 10 years. Yeah, 10 years.
And how old are you again?
16.
So you started racing when you were 6. How did you get into racing as a 6-year-old?
From my dad. He was racing before. Me started racing.
Well, what class was your dad racing?
10 scale touring car. Yeah.
So if you started at 6 years old, I would guess that it's still kind of like a game to you at that age?
Yeah. It's just like funny and having fun driving with RC cars.
So if you started at 6, how long did it take until you started becoming a good driver?
I think I was 13 when I was like driving into A main in national races, yeah, in Finland. Yeah.
And what was the first A main you ever made?
2015 in Finland, yeah.
In what class?
110 scale.
What, buggies, on-road?
Buggies, yeah.
Good man. Right, so you're a 6-year-old kid and you see your dad racing these cars. And did you ask him a lot of times, I want to race, I want to race?
I don't remember.
Well, I don't remember when I was 6 either. And this is your first European Championship then?
Yeah.
How are you finding the event so far?
Good. Good atmosphere and good track.
Okay, so how have your results been on the first two-wheel drive part of this event?
Good. I was my best run was 12th and second best was 15. Yeah.
And you've had a lot of support in the chat room?
Yeah. I haven't seen.
Oh, what? You haven't watched any of it?
Some of my runs.
So tell us about your car and who your sponsors are.
I'm driving its Schumacher car, and with LRP Electronics and VB Design painted body.
Well, why don't you just show the car to the people out there that may have never seen a car before?
Yeah.
Just describe what you're doing, taking the shell. How does the shell stay on then?
With the Velcro here and here. And I have the LRP Flow X and LRP 3900 battery and LRP X22 8.0 motor.
And you've also recently attended some other European Championships?
Yeah.
Tell us a little story about that. When did you leave home and where did you go?
I leave home like 2 weeks ago and going racing 1/8 scale Euros and then 5th scale Euros, off-road Euros, yeah. And I've been to 5th scale Euros this last week.
So this is your third week in a row racing, your first ever doing European Championships, and you managed to secure a 1/5 off-road European Championship title already in Bulgaria just this last weekend.
Yeah. It was a hard race, like start, but at the end it was great, yeah.
Just before we go, end of four-wheel drive practice. DC, who's looking fast?
Well, it's been hot today and hot action on the track, but the hottest has been the defending champion, David Runfolk.